Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be joining us from. Thank you for joining us for our final Invent Certified Integrator webinar of 2023. It's hard to believe it's about to be 2024. So today's webinar is Mastering the Year Ahead Strategic Planning for MSPs in 2024. So we'll hopefully have some great takeaways for you who are joining this webinar on how to get your 2024 started out right. We have few great certified vendors, great hosts here today. So before I hop it over to them or hand it off to them, a few housekeeping issues. First off, I want to point out that the platform is customizable. So if you would like to make the videos larger, feel free to just drag and drop the screens to make any which view that you would like larger. So it is customizable. If you are having any tech issues, can't hear us, obviously try increasing the volume, but also we recommend using Google Chrome, and you could also refresh your screen. That sometimes helps. We also want to hear from you, so please engage with us. There is an audience chat box, so feel free to drop any comments in there. There's also reaction buttons. Feel free to react. If something resonates with you, drop a reaction. We also, in the process of the webinar, have a few polls. We would love for you to take them because that's how we're going to chat with you and interact with you. So it's going to facilitate some of the discussion. So please be sure to vote on those polls. This webinar is being recorded today. So about 1 to 2 days after this live, you should receive a recording of the webinar for those that are able to join. And then a little bit about the Invent program, since we're here because of Invent and we're here with 3 of our certified Invent vendors. So what is Invent? In short, it's exactly what it says on the slide in the green. So Invent is our integration program, and it's dedicated to connect products that you, our MSPs, our TSPs use, connecting them with the platform through robust and secure integrations. They work with our API team in order to do that, have access to our APIs, to our different ConnectWise solutions. And they also go through a third-party security review to ensure that we're delivering you guys secure solutions. With that, being that 2024 is coming up, if you, our partners, have anything that you want to see, if you have any integrations that you want to see, maybe you're using a vendor that isn't currently integrated into the ConnectWise marketplace, feel free to connect them with us. If you have a missing piece in your stack that you need us to have a vendor solve for, connect with us as well. We'd love to find a vendor to integrate with our ConnectWise marketplace to work best with you. So you can connect with us at invent@connectwise.com. Towards the end of this webinar, I'll also show you a slide that'll have that email address. So with that, I will hand it over to Brad.
Thanks, Aubrey. Hey, welcome everybody. We're going to talk about strategic planning heading into 2024. We got a great group of people to kind of help with that conversation. I am Brad Scull, Vice President of Ecosystem Evangelism. What it says, same title as Arlen, but Arlen knows how to do it. I'm just riding Arlen's coattails at this point. And Arlen, we're going to facilitate a conversation. Give people 2 minutes about our background, as hosts.
Thank you, Brad. Well, Brad and I are old guys in the industry, so we've been around the horn a few times, and for the last 30 plus years, we've been around the TSP marketplace, part of MSPs and VARs that we're servicing and providing solutions, and we're excited today to host this great panel talking about the importance of strategic planning. There's no question that planning is a vital part of what we've learned through the Evolve peer groups and those kind of things. So it's great to be focused on this as we get to the end of the year. And hopefully by the end of our time today, you'll have a strategy for how to put a plan in place to take you to the next level.
Yeah. Thanks, Arlen. So Arlen and I are going to try to facilitate the conversation. We got 4 great panelists to help chime in. Cam, I'm going to start with you. Talk about you and your role with AlertOps.
Thanks for having us on, by the way. Appreciate it, Brad and Norland. So I'm Cam Shrikant. I head up customer experience here at AlertOps. AlertOps is an incident response automation tool facilitating notifications for critical incidents and helping you weed out noise so you have maximum operational visibility.
Nice. Thanks for being here, Cam. Adam, I'm coming to you. How about Humanize IT?
Humanize IT, we are a customer success platform where we will pull your information out of ConnectWise to automate your conversations with your clients for QBR. So you walk into a meeting from fixing a server, you pull up your QBR, and you talk to your client about what matters to them, rather than just talking speeds and feeds. And it'll drive profits for both you and your client. And we do this in as little as an hour.
Nice. Good stuff they got going on at Humanize IT. Lee, Great America. What do we need to know about you and Great America?
Well, Brad, I didn't know I had to talk today during the webinar. I thought I was just here to kind of round things out. So I appreciate you having me on. But, Great America has been in the industry for quite some time. And really, we started in the HTG space with Arlen maybe about 14 years ago. So been around the horn with you a little bit. Really, Great America is focused on taking capital purchases and things that the MSPs are working on out there, and how do we turn those into more of the monthly recurring revenue payments? How do we drive better EBITDA or increase margins or increase your valuation through utilizing financing services to either your customers or to yourselves directly, and be able to help you facilitate that along the way and just turn everything into that monthly spend that you're already out there selling.
Yeah, nice. We'll talk a little bit more kind of about the three representative areas that our panelists have, but here to keep us honest when we have our conversation, because five of us on this call, I'm in that group as well. We are not partners, right? Like we're doing strategic planning for our businesses, but this is about MSPs and how they should be planning going forward. So we figured we should probably have a partner on the call to keep us honest. Steve, give us a little bit of your background and what makes you qualified to keep all of us honest as we talk through this.
Well, I started in this community when Arlen was old and Brad was still young, and I'm not sure how Brad has turned old and Arlen is old, but I started in HTG3 with Brad, 15, 16, 17 years ago, something like that. So been around forever, still working for the same company, Nextech in Kansas. We're an MSP that handles kind of the Midwest.
Steve, thanks for being the representative in the audience, and I'm gonna open it up. You should have access to a Q&A box, I think, if you're attending the webinar, and we are open to taking questions. If you want to type them in there, we'll do our best to kind of get to them and pull them up, and then we'll take some time at the end to do that as well. So before we start the meat of the conversation, there's some terms that we're going to use. Buckets that we put partners in that we've learned through the peer group and the community work that we've done, and we call it modes theory. Real quick, you'll be able to pick this up pretty quick, but again, we're going to use the term, so we want to make sure we explain it. Modes theory is a way to assess an owner or a business's relationship with growth. So there are startup businesses that I like to think of them as they kind of got a tiger by the tail. They're doing well, they're growing. They're trying to figure out exactly how to run their business. They got a lot of muscle, a lot of feel happening. Haven't really thought a lot about exit or maybe what the value of their business needs to be when they want to get out. They're just having fun doing what they're doing and try to keep it all in front of them. Balance builder mode are the businesses that have found some success. They probably have some hopefully steady growth, some fairly steady profitability happening in their business. They got a good group of clients. They got a good group of employees. There's some variability, but they like that balance. They like that stability. They hopefully have thought through what their exit looks like, and they're happy with the trajectory that their business is going to take if they just kind of keep doing what they're doing. And they're looking to maintain that balance in running their business. Those are the balance builder businesses that we work with. There's a group we call value builders. Those are the companies that look, they probably looked at the value of their business and maybe what they might be able to get for it when they want to get out, as they plan what does exit look like, how am I going to. They have on growing their revenue and their EBITDA to the point where they're going to hit a certain value over a certain period of time. And they're just more laser focused on executing to a business valuation target than a balance builder might be, or a startup company. So they're running and managing this company. So we call those value builder owners. And then there's empire builders. These are the hockey stick companies. Usually, but not exclusively, you can think of these are the ones that have some private equity backing. They have access to capital because they are on a hyper growth over, make the board and the investors happy, and they are super focused on M&A and typically and growth through organic growth, so they can hit that valuation that they have their target set on. So they're hockey sticking much more than the value builders, and they are running their business, and strategic planning for those companies usually involves a board, and it looks a little bit different than the other groups that are represented here. So that's our the framework that we have. And just to kind of pull everybody in, Steve, I'm going to start with you since you're our partner representative. What mode would you say your business is in, and do you have any kind of comments or additions to what we've been doing with modes in the community?
Yeah, value builders where we strongly land, probably somewhere towards empire builder. One of the things that our company is we are cooperative, so we're not exactly out there to build the empires. We're out there to serve our rural communities, and so that's one of the things that we do and do well. So that's someplace between where we land behind that. But the modes theory has given a great structure to all of my peers from a standpoint of MSPs out there to kind of see where they land. And then as, ConnectWise and different partners talk about, the journeys, it gives them a structure in which to follow for sure. Brad?
Yeah. Yep. Lee, I know you've done some presenting on modes and you've worked with this framework with partners. What's your experience been to help unlock conversations with partners using the model?
That's a really good question there, Brad. And honestly, as you look at it, it's helped us as an organization too, as you think about the different talk tracks and the different values that we can bring to the different groups, because they're all fighting through different phases of their growth and what they're doing. And so what we're able to do for an empire builder, maybe a little bit larger in scope and options there, versus a startup who's really just trying, like you said, has a tiger by the tail, and they're just trying to work on getting standardized and these different pieces in place to help them scale to where they want to go next. So it's provided a really good framework for us to have a lot of conversations around what are the things that are going to be valuable for each of these different modes that they're in, and then how do we help them drive. If they're looking to get to a different mode, great, we can help them do that in certain ways. And if they're looking to stay where they are, awesome, but let's make sure we're doing the best we can within those modes to help them to achieve what they want to. So it's been a really good framework for us as well.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna pull you other guys in a minute, but Arlen, we're gonna go to the first poll question. So if you're out there, feel free to answer this question, because modes really, Arlen, when you designed it starts with what your exit strategy is like, right? So talk about the importance of thinking through your exit, and what you kind of tie that into what strategic planning might look like when you're thinking about the year ahead.
Yeah, so there's no question that the big thing about exit is that we're all going to exit. It is not an option. It will happen. And so the wise thing to do is to begin to planning for it sooner than later, because it's going to come. And when you think about planning and how it relates, across the four modes, you go from startup, where they're asking what is a plan, to empire builders who wish they would lose their plan because that's all that they ever think about. It's really important that people figure out how to migrate to a place where planning doesn't dominate them, but gives them guidance in a measuring stick. And that to me is the key to planning: is what are you measuring against, and then are you going to be accountable to it? But exit strategy has got to be one of the key anchor points of what planning is all about, because it is coming. we have different timelines to get there, but it's coming for all of us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the results in a minute. You got another minute or two to put your answer in there. But Adam, this should probably hit close to home with you, right? I mean, you recently, within the last kind of few years, have taken ownership of your business, I think, and some of this thinking and modes probably applies to right where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of in a unique situation where we acquired a company and merged it with our coaching practice. So it's almost like we have two modes going on as we were trying to figure out our identity in that startup mode. Mm-hmm. But then we started filtering down into the more like we know who we are, we know who our audience is, and now we're just growing. And so, while you guys have been talking about these exit strategies and stuff, the thing that applies to me that we started thinking about our clients with was, how do we see what mode our clients are in? And so as an MSP, what mode are your clients in, and put them on a track, to help their success as well. So take that thing that you know about yourself and apply it to your clients. Say, hey, look, they're in startup mode. Here's how I can help them from a technology portfolio. They're in empire building mode. Here's how I can help them. Like, hey, did you know this is the next level? And then put them on that track. So,
yeah, right. All right, let's take a look. So do you have an exit strategy for business? 67% no, 33% yes. All right, Arlen, as the resident legacy guy, and if you've been around HTG or the Evolved Peer Group program for any amount of time, legacy is it's his bailiwick. I'll pull a term out of the Old English. Arlen, what do people need to do to take exit strategy seriously as it relates to strategic planning?
Well, after admitting the fact that it's going to happen, then it becomes a question of what is it that you need to achieve to really have success with exit. And, it comes down to a couple of numbers to start with, Brad. One is a personal wealth target, which is really about how much money do you need to have accumulated when you no longer get a paycheck anymore to live the rest of your life, the way you want to live it. And, when I talk to partners, many of them haven't thought about that. What is it they need to achieve through their business? Because as small business owners, for most of us, selling the business is our way to get to a number. We're spending all our money on the way through as we run our businesses. We're not saving it very well. So we have to make it through some kind of an exit sale. And so you got to know what numbers that you're really trying to achieve from a personal perspective, and then you got to figure out what that business needs to be worth to achieve that number. And that's a business value target, we call it. And, you've got to factor in there taxes, fees that are going to occur when you do your transaction, all those things. And the number's bigger than you think. So that's where planning's so important. You figure out how much you need to accumulate, how much time you have, and that'll tell you what you got to do every year to get there.
Yeah. Cam, I want to pull you in. When you work with partners, what are you seeing or sensing as far as anything, as far as when people are building strategic plans? Are they pulling numbers out of the air? Like where are they getting their numbers? What are they thinking of for building a plan for next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the times the plans and numbers that we deal with when we're talking with partners are highly idealistic, right? So the strategy is fairly top level, right? And being able to facilitate and measure KPIs from a more tactical perspective based on day-to-day operations, based on month-over-month recurring revenue, and how that feeds into the top-level growth, I think is important, because a strategy is definitely critical to drive tactical output, but I think that the day-to-day needs to be focused on a little bit more there as well.
Yeah. Steve, you mentioned we go back to 2006 when you and I, that was back when I was a partner and we were a part of HTG3. How, just observationally of the typical person running a company in our industry, like how many years do they need to hear that you need to do this planning before they start to take it serious on average? It's a totally unfair question, but I'm trying to drive the point home that, like, this is, if you haven't done this, you're not alone. But talk through what it's like in our community around exit planning and really the strategy.
You know, Brad, one of the early experiences I had was with Arlen when we went down and spent some time with a partner in Florida, and literally we didn't know. I mean, I failed at pointing this out at that point in time, but, you know, within 6 months of that visit, he had passed away and his business ended up not existing out of not planning. And that's been rooted in my, you know, ever since, you know, like that's something I can never forget. But beyond that, you know, look, I've got some of these folks that have been around as long as you and I have, Brad, and they haven't got it yet. I'm sad to say, no matter how many times we're reminded. So this is a huge issue. And usually it takes one of these personal examples where it smacks somebody between the eyes and they realize that A, they're not going to live forever. B, whatever they just kind of thought they would just keep going. And, you know, the people that work for these companies lose their livelihoods, their family lose their livelihoods. Nonetheless, the fact that they're moving the business on and, you know, helping take care of their own families, it's just unbelievable to me that this has to be continually talked about, will continue to be talked about, and probably for as long as we're part of this.
Yeah. You know, the reason why we're harping on this and having an exit strategy is, you know, we get some economies of scale when we have these conversations in the peer groups where we have, you know, hundreds of these conversations. And when you're trying to give people advice or help coach or mentor or be a peer to them, a lot of times they say, is this a good thing to do? And the hard part about answering that is if you don't know, like, what their growth trajectory needs to be for them to hit their goals, like, you're guessing at if that's a good goal or good advice that you might be giving them. And in the peer group, we almost force people, you got to think this through. It may change, but you got to think it through so that, you know, are you on a trajectory? So the first kind of guiding piece of advice we have here, if you're going to strategic plan for next year, is know what your numbers need to be to make sure that you're hitting that trajectory so that you know, as much as things are under your control, you're going to be building the value into your business that you need so that when that exit time comes, you're ready to go. And again, it can change, but you know, the first thing is to build that so then you can financially understand what you need to do better to hit those goals, to hit those numbers. And Lee, that's kind of where a lot of what you guys do comes into play, because you offer partners some unique levers, right? Like if they're not hitting their numbers, either from a revenue standpoint or a margin standpoint, you guys bring some things to the table that are kind of non-traditional that they might want to consider.
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. And that's a broad topic, and I can go all over the place on that. But one of the things that down at Connect, and I probably for those on here, we presented with service leadership, but really talked about budgeting going into the next year. And what is one of the places where most people struggle is, how do you make the non-recurring piece of your business more predictable, right? How can I make the product sales, the project sales, and all the stuff that's typically kept? How do I find ways in which to make that a steadier stream of payments, or I know that's going to upgrade every 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever that looks like in regards to the life cycle of the technology. And that's a big piece where we fit in, is how do I get some predictability on the non-recurring side? So then if I can go and I have 3 different iterations of upgrades on the dot every 4 years for these individual customers because they're on an as a service model, then your buyer's looking at that and saying, I know I have a history of upgrades along the way. Additionally, hardware as a service, a lot of times, Steve can attest to this, they oftentimes will be financing that themselves internally. And what that does is it creates cash flow or debt issues that are on the books. It's great, they're adding recurring revenue, but I'm also having to acquire that technology and hardware on my own dollar, and I become a finance company. And that's really where Great America and Steve with Nextech really came to work together. Now, it took a long time because Steve is very stubborn and he didn't want to stop doing what he was doing. But eventually, after 4 visits down to Hays, Kansas, he made the shift. And so they had done a lot of self-financing, and then now they're really focused on how do I use my cash flow in better ways to be able to do this, but they also are probably in year 6 or 7 with us, or maybe more than that now, Steve, to where we're seeing our second round of upgrades to where your customers are just consistently, turning it. And that drives EBITDA because your service revenue is higher because you have new hardware, and it all feeds itself as you really think about it.
Yeah, and I know, Lee, I think we asked each of the panelists to have something that you could take away, and I believe yours, Lee, is we're gonna have a conversation at a certain level about things to do, but your kind of takeaway that we'll have a QR code at the end is a webinar, a series, a model that you built with service leadership and have helped deliver to help partners plan for next year.
Yeah, it's a HOS or / monthly payment OML in regards to your product and project work out there. So it's just five different spots for that. I think there's like 62 or 63 categories for service leadership. Ours is 5, and it's just, hey, where are you at on a scale from 1 to 5? Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing from with the service leadership side of things. It kind of spits out, where am I at today in regards to selling monthly payments and hardware as a service, and where do I want to be? And then we can really put the steps in place to get you there. If you're at the spot right now, what can we do to help enhance that? So that would be, it was developed by service leadership, Paul Dippo, Peter, and on to Peter Kajawa now. So it's definitely something we're taking a look at and filling that out.
Yeah, I know for a lot of you, like 2/3 of you, that haven't thought through what your exit strategy is with. Usually what comes with that is maybe not quite as sharp an understanding of the financials inside your business and your control over them. And if, some of our conversation, it feels like, boy, that's just like a mountain I can't climb right now, is to do that. I'll put a little plug in that ConnectWise and Evolve and the university, we have plenty of resources that would help you kind of self-start that. Along with some of the service leadership resources, but would happy to talk to anybody who wants to learn more about how do I kind of pull myself up by my bootstraps and figure out how this stuff works through the Evolve program, some of the materials that we have available to help you learn that. But I'm going to transition into our second point. I'm going to put another poll question up that you can answer, which is, and this is where a lot of people live, maybe even if you don't have a sharp yearly goal, have you organized yourself around a strategic planning tool, like something that organizes a strategy and then hopefully would take it into break it down so that it's something that you could actually operate on, right? Like we put a few examples up that are fairly popular out there that people are using now: EOS, Stratop, Gazelles, or we don't use a tool, which is fine. That's where we see a lot of partners, but one of the important things about strategic planning is actually having some way of getting it into your system. So, into your business. Cam, I'm going to come back to you. Like, do you guys have like a model or a system, or how do you guys strategically plan and then build an operational plan around it?
Yeah, we actually don't use a dedicated Stratop tool right now. With strategic planning, I think that right now we have a fairly comprehensive knowledge base that looks to answer a few key questions. And that's really who we are as an organization. What are we actually doing for our target customers, right? Why do we exist? What problems do we solve? And where do we see ourselves? So what exactly is our end goal? And I think that we've done a good job internally at defining those metrics. But yeah, while I have experience with EOS in the past, at AlertOps, we don't have a dedicated strategic planning tool.
Yeah. Adam, what do you see? Like, as you work with partners, and I would imagine for a lot of partners, like an operational thing they might want to get better at is like, well, we got to get better at our QBRs. We need to interface better with our clients. Like, what are you seeing partners do from a strategy to an operational standpoint around kind of breaking down a strategy and building rocks or whatever they might call them inside their business?
I'd say the most successful ones we see are using some form of EOS, where they're talking rocks. They're talking, hey, this is where we want to be at the end of this quarter. This is where we're going to be at the end of the year, and having a direction. We always say in our webinars, like, if you aim at nothing, you'll invariably hit it. So that's why a lot of MSPs are stuck in firefighting mode. and the clients can feel that. Whereas if you're using an EOS of some kind, if you're in an Evolve group, if you're working on your business, you have a different mindset. So our tool is is a strategic planning tool for clients, right? For partners.
Yeah.
And so when you talk to your clients, you're now representing, oh yeah, we talk about EOS and here's our rocks for the year. What are your rocks for the year so we can help you? There's a different mindset when they walk into their clients. When MSP walks into their clients and they're a Gazelle or an EOS shop, they're able to get on the same page as the leaders of their clients. Whereas people stuck in firefighting mode, they're still trying to talk about firewalls and things that really don't matter to their clients. People in EOS or in strategic planning sessions, they're like, this is what I need to talk to my clients about so I can get on board with their strategy and their goals. And then you see your project revenue go through the roof.
Yeah. Arlen, you get exposed to hundreds of partners through the community and the work that you do. How would you describe the impact of actually like having a system as opposed to not having a structure around building a strategy and then trying to operationalize it?
Well, the first thing I would say, Brad, is that hope is not a strategy. And that's what I see a lot of partners really leaning on. A system just provides a framework and the discipline to go with it to actually execute a plan. And, the other thing that I would suggest about systems are that they create a rhythm of accountability within an organization. And that's really important. And from a service leadership perspective, a plan without a budget really isn't a plan. So the systems are critical to really provide that framework and the discipline to go with it. And done well, it will definitely drive growth in an organization. Sure.
Yeah, I'm mindful of an author in a book that we've been talking a lot about at ConnectWise with James Clear and Atomic Habits and his, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, which, is so true once you start thinking about it. And then Adam, I mean, Humanize IT. I mean, you're really a systems company. Like you're helping partners deploy systems. Talk about how you help partners do that. Once they got their strategic plan and they need to figure some things out, how do you guys step in and come alongside partners to help them?
Yeah, so we have predefined playbooks for like different client sizes, just for you to start off with. So you treat your big clients one way, you treat your little clients a different way, and how often you should meet with them. It's our joke that you can do everything we do with the Big Chief notebook and a number 2 pencil, but we hold you accountable. And that accountability piece is key. Anybody who's been through an EOS, as you said earlier, accountability is everything. And so having that plan where it comes up on your page every day, says, here's who you need to meet with over the next week. You need to do a strategy session with, Acme Corps. You need to do a budgetary session with this other company. You need to wave hello to that small guy over there in the corner. Send him some cookies or something. But the idea is now you have a plan to show, because you're so busy in firefighting mode, you'll stay in operations all day long. But if you never talk to your client about strategy, you don't have that scheduled out and that accountability, like I will meet with this person every quarter. Mm-hmm. Or if I've got a doctor's office, I will help them with their planning every May. So you can create unique playbooks to hold yourself accountable, or you can use our playbooks to segment out your clients for yourselves.
Yeah. We talked about modes at the beginning of the session here, and for sure, if you are a empire builder or a value builder, you have your exit numbers. You know what those things are like. When we get to this strategic planning tool and what you use, and I'm gonna go ahead and look at the results of this. So we got some people using EOS, some people using other, and half of them not using the tool again. When we look at businesses that are in that startup and balance and value builder mode, the ones that have a tool are the ones that like they have it in place to actually then execute that plan once you get there, right? So if you know your goals for next year, the key then is to break it down into what you're going to do, and these tools are important to do that. Steve, what do you see? Because you facilitate groups, you're in a group. You're running, like what do you see happen with companies that want to be value builders that don't have these kind of tools or systems in place? Like, do you see them getting there? What impact do these tools have?
Well, first of all, I'm going to take you a little bit sideways here, Brad. The number one thing I haven't heard mentioned in kind of the planning or strategic planning, and specifically to value builder, is the involvement of your vendors. We have vendors on this call, of which several of them are vendors for Nextech here, and we involve them in our strategic planning because, their alignment, where are they headed to, say, in 2024? Are we in alignment with where they're going in 2024? Because there can be some real synergy and kind of momentum created when you're all on the same page, right? And the closer we're in alignment, that could be everything from marketing spend to in the field working together to making sure, like in Lee's case, we use them for the finance, making sure we're headed the right way on where the markets are taking them and us together. I talk to our rep, almost weekly on what's kind of going on as the market changes, especially with interest rates and all those things happening here recently. So the first thing I wanted to throw out there is, strategic planning isn't limited to the people in your company in that room of strategic planning. You have to involve, I think it starts maybe in a small room of strategic planning. And for our company, it starts as early as April. For 2025, in April of 2024, we'll start the first round of planning, which seems kind of crazy as we haven't even wrapped up 2023 yet. But then, you have to bring in the buy-in of your vendors. You have to bring in the buy-in of your own employees. You have to bring in strategy to align that. And then the second question that you really asked me was around the use of the tools. And for us, I think it comes down to two aspects. I think there needs to be a tool, a process, something that you follow that you can tune, that year in, year out, as you continue to build your strategic plan, that you can tweak the process of building your plan. And for us, we have an outside facilitator that comes in, holds us accountable to last year's goals, holds us accountable to doing what we said we were going to do, but also helps us lead through, the conversation internally. And so kind of those good to great moments where you don't have that one person in the room that leads the conversation in the only direction they want it to go. Everybody's listened to, which also I think the tool helps. So hopefully I headed where you wanted to, Brad.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think, again, if I back up, if you got your goal for next year and then you got some kind of a right? The whole, like, do you have a system to help accomplish whatever your goals are, right? Without that system, and we see it all the time in the peer groups because we have owners and we have service execs and we got sales execs and we have COO groups, and like you'd be surprised how you can create a fairly sophisticated organization and not have anybody be aligned with what we're trying to accomplish as a business, because it's all like in the CEO's head. Then there's assumptions being made, and like because there's no structure. There's no system around figuring out what our strategy is and how we're going to attack it, which is it's a problem, and it can be addressed. And again, if you're gonna plan well for next year, you need to have your goals, and you need a way to be able to get there, right? Like you need some kind of a structure to get there, which is going to lead us to our last topic before we open it up for some patterns and trends, which is. You got those things. The question is, do you actually manage your business to a strategic plan? Because there's a chasm between building a strategic plan and actually executing a strategic plan. Those are two different things. It's good to build one, but then is it just sitting on a shelf and you come back next year and you're like, well, we hit this, we didn't hit this, but it's all rear view mirror, not really part of your daily life, right? And Lee, you're nodding your head a bit. Like how do you guys stay aligned on your strategic plan?
We do. We did StratOp for a very long time, and then we moved over to EOS, and there's a lot of similarities in it. But the EOS for us has been pretty big because we are broken down into, we're a pretty large organization, but broken down into smaller teams and business units, and then the team. So our first team is about 5 to 7 people, and we really are focused on week in and week out, each quarter, what are we striving towards? And it's really driving towards what the strategic plan is, and that strategic plan is tied to the budget, right? So it is consistency, and you said it before. It is that accountability piece, that's huge, right? I mean, it really is. And so you just need to have it as a team, and you have to be unified and row in the same direction. Because if you're doing that as a leadership team, those that are on your team below, they're going to be right along with you. So it's a very positive piece to what we do here.
Yeah. Cam, what when people are working their strategic plan, whether they've got it tied to the right things or not, the types of things that they're looking to do, whether they understand sort of the ultimate implication of what they're trying to accomplish or they don't, it's the types of things like, how do we do more with less? How do we respond better? Like kind of the tactical things, right? If you do this right, you have a strategy, then you have an operational goal, and then you have some tactics that are going to help you get there, right? And some tools. And where you guys step in is that you have a lot of shortcuts. You got a lot of levers, right? You have some things that you can bring to partners that no matter how sophisticated their planning and their process might be, you guys have a way to help them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I think that from the value that we kind of provide, it really boils down to one, asking what do we have from a resource perspective, from a budget perspective, and how do I leverage what I have to meet our goals? As an organization, even with Alert Ops, I'd say that one of the things that's been monumentally successful for us to making sure that the tactical implementations of what we're doing on a day-to-day as opposed that aligns with our strategic plan is one, visibility and open communication, right? So we have inter-team meetings, whether it is sales and product, customer success and sales. Every team meets with every other team to make sure that the activities that they are doing are in line with one another. And a very simple thing that's been monumentally successful is really asking, okay, well, we are investing in this new tool. We are making this change to process. How or does it even contribute to our overall top level strategy? And I think that asking that question repeatedly just reconfirms that your activities are directed towards your strategy or alternatively deviating.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the results here. So, well, this is some good news. 100% of the people who responded are managing their business according to a strategic plan, which is good. Like there's some consistency there. Now, I'm going to put on my hat of being working with hundreds of partners and throw the BS flag. And maybe you all are, right? It's entirely possible. One of the great things about awkwardness in a peer group meeting is this stuff kind of gets called out, right? For the good of the owner, for the good of the business that is being represented into the peer group. But I'm super happy that we got the 100% of the people that are actually executing their strategic plan in this room. But that would probably go counter to what we've seen for a lot of the companies that have come through the peer group. Arlen, I'm going to let you comment on that before I go to some open topics here.
Yeah, I would say it definitely contradicts what we see. You know, looking at the data from last quarter, for example, with service leadership, 27% of the companies that were benchmarked lost money. And that's not the sign of a strategic plan that's been well followed. And the biggest mistake I think I see partners make is that they believe that if they just get up every day and work hard, someday they will have created something that somebody wants to buy. And the truth of the matter is that people don't pay for hard work. They buy companies that are profitable consistently and they can depend on to be able to recoup their investment. So, you know, it's important that we understand that, you know, it's about more than talking about planning and execution. It has to come down to being accountable and we actually execute.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna give you guys a bit of a heads up. I want to have a little frosting on the cake, which I'm going to come around and ask if you were making one bet that you would be looking to do in 2024. If you were running an MSP, what might that be? All right. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. as I kind of sum up, what we've been talking about. Our three kind of key questions about, what progress do you need to make next year in a strategic plan, right? And hopefully that's going to get you towards your exit. You want to start there. Let's make sure you got a good goal for what your business needs to do next year. And then, do you have the strategic operational framework and system in place to help your business actually get there? And then, are you diligent enough to actually use it and have some accountability around it and have it be a part of running your business every day, right? Those are the like, if you want to master a strategic plan, those are the basics, right? You got it. Those things need to be in place. If you have those things in place, then it allows you to properly evaluate and decide what you're going to do and how you're going to go get it, right? So I'm going to come back to you guys, all right? And Steve, you're actually, like running an MSP. So I'm going to start with you, all right? Like, what would be a part of your strategic plan next year that you're going to go execute running your MSP?
Geez, Brad, would it be too teed up if I just said, business finance with Great America? But no, realistically, that's realistic. That is a fundamental part of our business. But probably where I would go is being strategic with your customers on IT and what you're doing with them versus being a tech company selling tech stuff, delivering techie things. Yeah. That's not what we do here. We deliver IT as a service and allow our clients to deliver whatever business they're in, whether that be serving patients to, roofing houses or whatever it is. Yeah. If you're not moving that way with your, what you're selling, how you're delivering it, having those conversations with your clients, then I think that you're going to find yourself out in the cold.
All right. Good answer. Cam. All right. Let's, you're running an MSP. You got a goal in mind for next year. You got a strategic planning system. You got a leadership team that's executing and accountable. What bet are you making? What are you doing next year?
I'm going to emphasize future proofing, right? I think that we've talked a lot about the strategic and financial implications around an exit strategy, but I think that it's not really just winding down, but in MSP, we need to be prepared for any scenario, whether it's market shifts, we talked about interest rates, tech advancements. Are we really focused on the tech stack that's driving value for our customers, or even personal circumstances, whether that be financial or otherwise, making sure that there are contingencies and redundancies in the strategy to make it effective, irrespective of ad hoc changes.
Yeah. It's good. And again, all those things are tough to do if you don't have kind of that framework in place to be able to go do it. Lee, what about you? What are you doing?
I would say regardless of where you're at from a modes theory side of things, we're in uncertain economic times right now, as you just kind of look at the landscape and everything that's going on. And I would say for both your customers and yourselves as a business, cash really is king right now. And how do we maintain cash flow within that business? So as you think about, as you think about whether you're deploying your own capital in hardware as a service, or whether you are, or you're not utilizing any types of as a service model out there, I will tell you in all the different modes, there are ways in which you can create more value in your business, more profitability in your business, if you really do implement a solution that ties into what you're trying to accomplish, depending on what mode you're in. So as I look at that, I just would say, and for example, just recently in the Empire Builder, a PE firm was looking to acquire a company, and they wanted to get the hardware as a service portfolio off the books before they would make the purchase. Great news is Great America facilitated the buyout of a very large portfolio to get that out of the way. But even the PE companies and the companies that are buying you are looking and they're saying, yeah, that's great that you have that recurring revenue, but that's not going to be a part of this sale, right? Yeah. So just as you think about that, there's just debt that goes along with that.
Right. All right. It's good. Adam, what are you doing next year?
I'm going to recommend everybody just kind of like what Steve said, like focus on services. The commoditization, don't be a Best Buy anymore. Stop being an asset manager, start being a service provider. That means offering security solutions like training for your clients. That means doubling down on what can you be doing for your clients? Can you be offering them warranties on all their devices from your own personal standpoint. What service can you provide that's going to augment your client's business strategy? And then I would recommend asking one question, and we do this in our software at the top of every client. What is your client's goal for 2024, and how are you helping them achieve it? Those are the services you need to provide. If they're trying to grow by 10%, how are you as an MSP going to help your client? What service are you going to provide them that's going to help them grow by 10%? You need to be asking yourself that hard question now, and then be meeting with your client regularly to have accountability sessions with them to say, here's how we're helping you grow. How are we adapting, and how are you growing?
And I believe you get a system to help organize and drive that.
Yeah. I mean, to hammer everything's a nail, right?
Right. No, it's good stuff. You're exactly right. Arlen, you get the last word on what you would do next year.
Yeah, I think that I would double down on what Steve mentioned earlier, which is about alignment with vendors. You know, the folks in the Invent program have made an investment to help partners leverage their tool set. Most partners are pathetic at selling, and Invent partners are going to help us do that, because they only have success when we have success as a partner. So I think leverage is the word I would use, and just encourage you to spend the time and get aligned and leverage all the resources available to you. These guys have made an investment to make your business successful, so use it.
Yeah, that's good. All right, I'm gonna move to wrapping this thing up. We got one question, Cam. This is for you, and I'm not sure. I'm just gonna read it as it's in here. Pricing on the MSP package.
Yep, absolutely. So that's going to be $16 per user. A user is anyone that is responding to alerts, so generally technicians, on an annual basis, and $19 per user per month in the case that it is monthly.
Yeah.
So if you use the QR code at the end of this presentation, an additional 10% off of either of those.
Yeah, nice. So that's your give back on the webinar here. It's a discount on the software, right? Adam, what's yours? Wait, if people go look at your barcode that's going to come up in a minute, what's your giveaway for the webinar?
I believe it's 50% off our white glove service. So if you sign up today, we will have your QBRs and all your playbooks set up for you for 2024. So starting in January, you'll have accountability sessions for all your clients going through December. We will pull that information out of ConnectWise and automatically populate your meetings for you. So 50% off that white glove where we do everything for you. You can sign up and click enroll today, and our people will take care of you. And you can take off the entire holiday break, come back to January 1st with a complete plan for 2024.
Awesome. Nice. Okay. I want to thank everybody for participating in the panel, and Aubrey, I'm gonna turn it back over to you for some housekeeping and closing thoughts here.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Brad. Like Brad pointed out towards the end, if you guys on this webinar want to check out, there's a box. I think it's at the top right, unless you change the view. There's a box of assets that our vendors provided today that are free to use. So Alert Ops has a promo code. Great America has an operational maturity assessment that you guys can take. And then Humanize IT has an editable QBR strategic business review available to you guys. So definitely take advantage of that to help plan for your 2024. We have these lovely QR codes available as well. So if one of these vendors resonated with you and you would like to get connected with them, please go ahead, scan these QR codes. Those will take you to their marketplace pages where we can get you guys connected to each of these vendors. And definitely check out our marketplace page if you haven't. Our ConnectWise marketplace page has a slew of Invent vendors. Like Arlen said, definitely leverage them into going into your 2024. So you can always connect with us at invent@connectwise.com if you have any questions on how to leverage any of these great Invent vendors and other vendors as well. So thank you everybody so much for joining. Thanks to our panelists, our hosts, and we look forward to our next Invent Certified Integrator webinar coming up in 2024. Thank you everybody for joining.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.